Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Hashem Yahushua, Hashem HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles and the elders, great most honorable one. And shalom to all the brothers doing the work, Syrian truth. Got this article on Zero Hedge from the Epoch Times about the CBDC, and it's interesting. You had Trump's, what was it? There was the Sovereign Wealth Fund, and I forgot the exact term, but basically the crypto reserve as well, where they're, grabbing up certain crypto. So you have, I'll read it. So it says, the Bank of America has made no secret of its efforts to explore a CBDC, a digital dollar issued and controlled by the central bank. The Bank of Canada is not alone. To date, 134 countries and currency unions have explored the CBDC, and 66 countries are already in the advanced stages of implementation. In 2023, cash accounted for a mere 11% of total payments made by Canadians. Yeah, I think a lot of countries, it's been that kind of, there's been a decline in cash. It's really since the pandemic. That was when, especially over here in the UK, that was the biggest push, because you had a lot of places go from taking cash and card to just where they only took card payments, and you've had like development of like contactless. That got a huge upswing in people using contactless, just in general. And these things are, precursors, laying the groundwork for the, CBDC, for the chip, basically. Because you have, as far as integration, it's all RFID technology. The was it near field, NFC, near field communication as well. These things are basically at a stage where you could, just take the chip and stick it inside your hand and utilize it like that, and people do. But it's all laying the groundwork for that being, mandatory. That's really the key turning point. Because what does it say? Consumers increasingly tap their credit and debit cards at checkouts, send e-transfers, or use things like Cash App. That's more in the States. I don't even think it's here in the UK. It would be like more the online banks in the UK. It says consumers increasingly tap their credit and debit cards at checkout, send e-transfers, or use online banking to pay bills, make investments, and donate to charities. For many Canadians, I think it was when it's like here in the UK, I remember seeing like busking, where someone would just be like playing the drums, guitar, singing, whatever. Used to be you would have a guitar case or a hat or something like that, where man just dash, would put a few coins in as they're walking past. But then really from like the 2010s, throughout those, it really went to where you need to have a card, like a contactless little tap machine, to have any hope of people giving you cash, giving you money. Because otherwise, it's just like no one runs around with cash. And then people would just think, like, oh, they have their phone out. They might just be, okay, yeah, you're playing a bang, and they might sit there and listen to a tune or two. Then just tap it and give you, a few bucks. So, even on a lot of places where cash would kind of be the simplest way to kind of deal with it, you have a lot of them where it's now moved to contactless and whatnot. So it says, what for many Canadians, metal coins function less like currency and more like a locker or a shopping cart token. Paper bills are for birthday cards, not for serious transactions. New legislation in Quebec empowers law enforcement to presume that cash sums of $2,000 or more are the proceeds of unlawful activity. And that's a big angle they're kind of going with, to limit, restrict certain uses of cash, certain uses of money and whatnot, because they'll just go to it's you're either justify it as you're doing criminal activity, or you're going to utilizing criminal activity. You're saying like, oh, okay, restricting criminal activity is for the sake, for the greater good. you know we're going to limit these things, because that's what they say with like contactless and whatnot. They say, oh, it's safer, it's blah blah blah. What do you call it, if you put what do you call it, fucking hell, if you use like contactless payments, use your card or whatever, there's more safety involved. But it's, there's conveniences to it, but ultimately the reason it's being pushed is for what comes down the line, which is MOTB. While most consumers seem to appreciate the convenience of an increasingly digital economy, a CBDC is a radical change from using credit cards and online banking apps. A CBDC would likely lead to a cashless economy in which all financial transactions can be monitored and controlled by the government. And yeah, it's like with contactless payments, especially with these things, you already have a lot of these factors. It's just centralizing it basically. Because as far as now, it'll be like Visa, Mastercard, PayPal, whatever. There's segmentation, but they can be rolled together once you correct. Because it's even with a lot of these, like now, there used to be more different ways you could make payments with cards, but at present it's like chiefly Visa and Mastercard, and then they'll work together to kind of limit, who and what can utilize like payments through card. So it says, a cashless economy would create severe hardship for people who are homeless, technologically illiterate, or without ready access to the internet. For Canadians who look after their finances electronically, cash remains essential to protect their rights and freedoms, including the privacy, security, and autonomy. And that's something that most people really don't give a fuck about. They're just thinking about convenience and what they want to do in life. They're thinking like, oh, I ain't used cash in ages. They might have withdrawn cash, and it's just sat. It's gathering dust in their wallet. They might think like, oh, I don't even want to pull out the wallet. I'll just fuck it. Tap the phone, tap the Apple Watch, tap the contactless card, tap whatever. Because it's more straightforward. You ain't having to sit around and do whatever. But then what does it say? In a cashless economy, all transactions are digital, subject to surveillance, and ultimately subject to government control. CBDC opens the door for governments to reward or penalize Canadians for their personal choices on how to live, where to go, and what to do with their own money. And what do you call it? What's it? The thing I was thinking with Canada as well. I'll skip down. I was going to read about. So it mentions about the social credit system. Okay. So yeah, some argue that we'll never see communist Chinese social credit in Canada, but it already happened here in February 2022 when the federal government froze the bank accounts of hundreds of Canadians who had not broken any law or committed any crime. These Canadian citizens were punished by the state for having donated money to a peaceful protest movement that was hated by the Prime Minister of the day. They had no opportunity to challenge, dispute, or appeal the severe penalty, which the government imposed on them without warning. Yeah, so it was when it was the trucker protest where they were like blocking up the roads going into, I can't even remember where it was, but that was happening up in Canada. And I remember they said, yeah, there were bank accounts getting shut down for people that were involved in a protest, which is fucking crazy when you think about it. Because as far as with how society's meant to function. You're meant to have the liberty to go out and be like, okay, I'm gonna protest X, Y, Z. I don't like this government. I'm gonna let them know. But then, the government was like, if it's just gonna shut down, they can just be like, okay, no, you can't even act. You might have, fucking 250 grand in the bank, and then they're just like, no, you can't access your own money. You're a dissident. You're coming against order, so you're cut off. And that's the thing is it's not even a thing of, oh, consider it's happened already. So it says cash alone made it possible for these victimized Canadians to buy groceries, pay their heating bills in winter, and secure other necessities. If Canada's economy had been cashless in February 2022, the government's freezing of bank accounts would have inflicted far more harm. And yeah, that's what it comes down to is control. That's really the fullness of it. The fullness of it is a means of restraining, and controlling. And it's what's the objective? The objective is to get everyone into that beast system, man. On that mark, they're gonna have people, they want them eager, gagging to get that mark, man, chomping at the bit to get that mark. What does it say? What the government? Okay. That's kind of going over more. So I read this. Daniel 8:25, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. And that's been the MO of Esau. That policy, that's kind of the key point, because he's going into Antiochus, I believe. And then what through his policy, and then you go into was it First Maccabees 1. It'll kind of break down how he's establishing policy, then enforcing it, by force. People were getting killed if they weren't complying. And then you had Jake that basically would have to run and deal with the heathen and be like, okay, fuck it, we're gonna go and comply. We're gonna go to the gymnos. We're gonna reattach the foreskins and then pursue that. But then that same MO of using policy that was used in the time of the Greeks, but then the Romans, the same thing, draconian rule, passing laws, legislation to then bring down force upon the people. And then now as well as the same thing, these laws being passed is it's presented as, oh, it's some kind of smooth sweet honey in the mouth gain. But then what's the truth of the matter? Shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against a prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. So yeah, by peace shall destroy many. And that's, that fork-tongued nature of Esau. It was around in that time of the Greeks, around the time of the Romans. And then when Esau came back, it was the same thing. It was in Revelation 20. As he must deceive the nation. It must be loose for a little season to deceive the nations, man. Because that's his role. That's his job, to be that deceiver. Isaiah 10:1, it says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and the right grievousness which they have prescribed. And yeah, those unrighteous decrees, that's really the means of how things are being exercised. Now they're passing that legislation, passing those things into law, so that people kind of know what's coming and what they're aware of. But then it's a matter of compliance. They're complying with what do you call it? It's the Matrix, the second movie, Matrix Reloaded. When Neo goes to talk to the architect, he says it's the Matrix. What keeps it functioning is oh, what's the word? Not compliant. A choice. Basically, people being presented with a choice, where even if it's on a subconscious level, as long as they're choosing to be in the Matrix, then it makes it run way more smoothly. They're willing to comply and be within the Matrix, even if it's just like subconsciously they're just choosing that. No, I want to keep being here. And that's the same thing with Esau's rule, his beast system. They want people complying and eager to be within it, even if it's like now, all the terrors, all the harshness is coming down upon the people now. Because why? It's basically pushing them into that corner. Benefits are being stripped away, places to stay. It's getting harsh. Money, what do you call it? Being able to afford, what do you call it, to pay your energy bill and whatnot. That's going up in fucking April as well. Madness. So it's gonna be hell on earth. And then with those stresses, there's laws that would say, okay, well, we just got to follow through, and it's we passed this, you voted us in, this is what we wanted, even though it's the complete opposite of what people were looking to deal with. But then what they're being pushed to comply. I read this. Sirach 12:10, it says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and be ware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place, neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. Yeah. So it's as far as what, and that's the thing is why it's like, you have reincarnation in the scriptures, where you have people coming back in their same stead, in their same lot. And then you have with Esau, you go back to Antiochus Epiphanes using that policy to basically have everyone be at one with his system, which was that coming back at that same Babylonian spirit. And then, as the Romans, same thing. We had the Roman citizenship, and then, the rebirth of the Romans in the modern day. America. And then with that, you've basically got everyone getting that compliance, getting them to be at one with the system. Because why? It's that same spirit, that same mindset. That's why you can't, never trust thy enemy. Because you might think, oh no, he's good now. He's done the PR job. He's basically put. He's let me know. It's like, no, I'm a good XYZ. All this is that BS. But then, in reality, it's like what these elites getting up to, what's going on behind closed doors. When you actually look at his record, all these different invasions, all these, the way he deals with and the deals that he makes with these different countries. He's the same man. Trusting in that system of his, you're gonna be disappointed. But there must needs be, masses of Jake. The majority of Jake is gonna go and hand will join in hand with him. Because why? It needs to be destroyed, man. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom.